Ok, so vou começar. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another CCMAR webinar. Today, before I introducing you our invited speakers, I will presenting you João, who is going to talk about Ideias em Caixa, which is an entrepreneurship contest promoted by CREA from University of Algarve, NERA, and Age. And João, feel free to tell us what we need to know about it.
Okay, thank you very much. Shall I speak in English or in Portuguese?
It is better in English, given
it's better
the
in English.
CCMAR
Okay.
community.
Okay, I'm gonna try to do my best. Okay. Okay, my name is João. I'm here representing CREA, which is the entrepreneurship division of University of Algarve. Me and my colleague Sheila Godinho, she's with us too, and we are here, and we would like to thank to have these few minutes to talk a little bit about this ideas contest from University of Algarve. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, just a moment. Okay. Just a moment. Partilhar. Ok, compartilhar a tela. Yes, okay. Okay, that's it. Okay, are you seeing what I'm sharing?
Yes.
Okay, so every 3 years since 2004, the University of Algarve organized this ideas contest with business ideas contest, which the main objective is help people who have good ideas to create their own companies, their own business. We are in 7th edition, and the main goals from this year or from this edition of the contest, it's to try to find and help people with ideas in 6 main areas, which are identified in my slide, which are the main areas who are defined in the regional strategy of the region, which is the areas where the region thinks it's more important to help and fund with the European Union funds. This ideas contest is organized by University of Algarve in partnership with two enterprise organizations, one youth enterprise organization, which is ANJ, and with NERA, which is a regional association from different sectors of activity. The contest, it's a process who goes in 3 main stages. The first stage is now until 14th of May, where the people just have to fulfill a very simple form and present the idea, present the business, and talk a little bit of the market and join the curricula. After that first stage, the organization choose the 40 better ideas to go through the next step. And the next step, it's a pack of workshops and seminars where people will listen about some subjects who are very important to who wants to create a company, subjects like finance, marketing, sales, and they have the opportunity to listen the stories of other people who already have passed through this process and already have created their own companies. In the end of these workshops, the teams with the ideas present their projects to the organization and to get some ideas, some suggestions to improve the idea. After that, each team will have an individual support to can go through the first idea description, what I told it was very simple, to what we call a small business plan or pre-business plan, with the previous business plan. It's a more discriminated form where some financial subjects will start to appear, and people are invited to start thinking not only in products and service and market, but to think in sales, in costs, and in investments. And it's that second form, what we call the previous business plan, who is the main form for the final evaluation from for the organization. In the last editions, we had some good ideas and some good teams from your center, and we'll like, of course, in this edition have more ideas and more people and more teams from CCMAR. This ideas contest have 30,000 euros in prizes, in money, to give as prizes to the best ideas, and have to some technical support by consultancy in different areas like account, marketing, web design. Well, some things people who want to create company will need for sure to start. We are here just to remember you about this ideas contest, to remember you about the deadline, which is 14th of May, and of course we would love to receive good ideas from your center and from teams from CCMAR. And I'm finished. I thank you very much for your attention. And I would like to ask if you have some questions you would like to do.
Okay, so if anyone have a quick question, please feel free to ask, or you can leave it in the chat and maybe João can answer later. But I'll just give you a few seconds if anyone want to make it. Okay. Okay. I'm going to leave in the chat the flyer of the contest, and in the flyer you can find the link for the proposal form, and well, we are of course available for every questions you may have in next few days. Just send us an email or give us a call. I'm going to leave our contacts too in the chat. Okay. Yes, please, João. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, João, to bring that information to CCMAR and also for all online audience. Now it's time to introducing you our invited speakers of today. They are two CCMAR researchers, but from different groups, the Marine Plant Ecology Research Group and the Plant Systematics and Bioinformatics Research Group. They are Carmen de los Santos and Joo Machado. Carmen is a marine ecology researcher holding a PhD by University of Cadiz and joined CCMAR in 2016 after integrated other research centers in Portugal and Spain. Carmen conducts research in three main areas: ecosystem services, namely the role of coastal vegetated ecosystems; second, environmental impacts, and by that I mean the response of coastal ecosystems to environmental factors and human impacts; and last, functional ecology, and by that I mean characterization of investigation of plant functional traits, mainly morphological and biomechanical traits. A part of research, Carmen also develops teaching activities in the University of Algarve. Please, all of you, please turn off your microphones. In the other side, we have João Machado from Plant Systematics and Bioinformatics Group, who holds a PhD degree by University of Porto. And his main research there was about the study of genes involved in the development and adaptation in the vertebrates. Who has the microphone on, please? Okay, so as I was saying, João also has a degree in informatic engineering in Porto too, and he was system administrator in the Infraestrutura Nacional de Computação Distribuída in Braga, where his main task was to help in the configuration of the batch system. In the beginning of 2020, João joined CCMAR as a bioinformatician, and in CCMAR, João has been developing a portal related with genomes annotation under the ESCOLIFE project, but also working in the SeagrassTraitDB, which is also a collaboration between CCMAR and Biodata PT. The topic of today is a joint project between two groups with different skills. SeagrassTraitDB is the first global database aiming to integrate worldwide Seagrass trait data, and of course, following community standards for metadata collection and plant ontology definitions. Carmen and João, thank you very much to accept my invitation to be here today. And please feel free to share your information and data.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
So thank you very much, João, for the invitation to give this talk and for the presentation. And thank you all the people that who is attending the talk. So as you said, we are presenting today this project that we have been working at for the last year, and that is a combination of expertise from two research groups. So first of all, I would like to introduce the team. We are both João and me here as representative of the team of the SeagrassTraitDB. So from the Marine Plant Ecology Group at CCMAR, we have Professor Santos, who is the leader of the group and who is a marine ecologist with a lot of experience in seagrass ecology, and myself. And from the Plant Systematic and Bioinformatics Group, we have Simon Cox, who is also the leader of this group and who is a phylogenetic systematicist. And then we have Joo Machado and Lucas Moro, who are bioinformatics researchers. As you said, the aim of the Seagrass trait database is to have the first database aiming to integrate and make available worldwide Seagrass trait data following community standards for metadata collection and plant ontology definitions. Okay, I understand that here we put a lot of information and we need to explain some of these words that we use to understand which is our aim. So the first one is database. I think that most of you are familiar with this word. A database is an organized collection of data that is generally stored and accessed electronically from a computer system. And well, this is the basic one, but the others may not be very familiar for some of you. So first of all, we are going to introduce seagrasses. Seagrasses are marine plants. They are the only flowering plants that can grow in the marine environment. They are monocots, and they are very special. This is a special group of plants because they went back to the sea once we were already adapted to the land existence. And through this process, there was a harsh selection of characteristics because, as you know, in the marine habitats, the environmental conditions are very harsh because of the salinity, the light, and the water motion. So seagrasses are formed by three evolutionary lineages. It means that they evolved from three different groups. And nowadays they are formed by 5 families, 12 genera, and around 80 species. And we look at the seagrasses independently of these evolutionary lineages, the three different evolutionary lineages, they share a lot in common. And for example, this can be seen in the morphology. Most of them present these long and narrow leaves that are very flexible and that allow them to live with the water motion that they experience in the sea. Seagrasses are distributed all around the world except for the Antarctica, and the highest species richness is found in the tropical Indo-Pacific. It is estimated that around 300,000 square kilometers of the ocean is covered with seagrasses, and this is a tiny fraction, in fact, of all the ocean floor. As you can see in these pictures, they have this common morphology. Some of them, like in the first pictures, have oval leaves, but this is not the common one. And they can be found both in the intertidal and in the subtidal, and normally form these extensive meadows underwater. Despite being a low diversity group of plants and covering only a small percentage of the ocean floor, seagrasses are very important because of the services they provide to the planet and to people. And just to name some of them, seagrass ecosystems are very important for the fisheries because they are nursery habitats of commercial species, not only fish, but also bivalves and crustaceans. They are also a natural weapon to fight against climate change because they sequester and store a high amount of carbons in their biomass, and especially in the segment of these ecosystems. To mention others, they support huge biodiversity, including species that are protected or that are charismatic, such as sharks, seahorses, turtles, dugongs. And they are also natural filters of the water because they retain particles and they remove nutrients from the water and even pathogens. They can also buffer ocean acidification. They protect the coast from flooding and storm surges, and they are also area for tourism and recreation. So as you can see, seagrasses are like kind of superheroes. We can see seagrass meadows as an important ecosystem that support the achievement of important international commitments such as the Sustainable Development Goals. And just to mention some of them, they contribute to number 2, zero hunger, because of the fisheries that they support, life below water, number 14, because they support a high number of, a lot of biodiversity, and number 13, climate action, because of their role as natural carbon sinks. So now you know what are seagrasses and why they are important, and I would like to introduce now what plant traits are. A trait is something that defines an organism in plain English. But from an ecological point of view, the definition is a little bit more complex, and is defined as any morphological, physiological, or phenological heritable feature that we can measure at the individual level, from cell to the whole organism, but without any reference to the environment or the level of any other level of organization. Why plant traits are important? Plant traits normally respond to the environment, to environmental changes. So when we have when a plant experiences change in the environmental conditions, we can see the responses at the level of the traits. And this effect can be translated into higher levels of organization, to community, and then to ecosystem. And the ecosystem properties and functioning is what define the services that we obtain from them. So it means that if we look at the individual traits of the plant, we can infer which are the functions and the services that we can obtain from them. And this is what we call the trait-based ecology. It's a conceptual framework in which we look at the responses and the effects, and that allows us to link the individual level to the ecosystem level in terms of properties and services. When we are talking about plant traits, we talk about the different parts of the plant. We can define traits at the different levels for the leaf, for the stem, for the rhizome, roots, flowers, seeds, and in the case of seagrasses, for the shoots. Here in this drawing, you can see the typical morphologies of seagrasses with the name of the different parts. And what they have all in common is that they are organized as shoots. A shoot is a cluster of leaves that arise from a point in the rhizome and which has roots associated to it. When we talk about plant traits, we also can categorize them in different groups depending on who we are looking at. For example, we can talk about traits related to the nutrient content, the carbon, the nitrogen, or the pigment, and the structural and non-structural carbohydrates. These are the biochemical traits. Also, we can define physiological traits related to the nutrient uptake, to the photosynthesis or respiration of the plants. Then we have morphological and biomass-associated traits, such as the dimensions of these parts of the plants in terms of length or thickness, but also the mass, density, the area, and the relation of these variables, such as the leaf mass area or the specific leaf area. And finally, we can also define traits related to the growth and the development of the plants, like a lifespan, mortality rate, growth rate, or elongation rate, which is specific for these plants because they normally grow by elongating the leaves. I would like to give you an example of how important it is to study the plant traits. This is an example from terrestrial ecology, and is the leaf economic spectrum. It was published in 2004 by Ian Wright and colleagues and it was published in Nature. And for me, it's one of the milestones in the use of traits within the field of plant sciences and functional ecology. They use data of traits from around 2,500 species from 175 sites all around the world, and they look at the correlation between chemical, structural, and physiological traits of the plants, specifically for the leaves. What we found is that many of these traits are correlated and vary in a gradient from conservative to acquisitive plant strategies. What this means? It means that we can define a spectrum in which species can be put in the gradient. And in one side we have a conservative planning strategy, and in another we have the acquisitive strategy. This is defined by how these plant traits vary, and they use these three important ones: leaf mass area, nitrogen content, and lifespan. And they found that at one side we have those plants that invest a lot in growth. That they grow slowly and invest more in the carbon resources. They are normally less nutritious, and they normally have thick and dense leaves. In the other side, we have plants that grow faster. They're more nutritious. They're normally they have a higher content of nitrogen and less carbon, and their leaves are thin and light. Why it's important to have this approach to understand how plants function? Because from this level of the leaf, we can infer ecological ecosystem processes such as element cycling or even herbivory patterns. Because the fact of being from having a conservative or acquisitive planning strategy have an effect on how for example, the cycling of the nitrogen occurs in the ecosystem. As I said, here in terrestrial ecology, the idea of the traits is well developed, and there is, for example, a database for plant traits basically for terrestrial plants, with more than 11 million of records, and for more than 200,000 plant taxa. Seagrasses are rarely recorded in this database, and that's why we thought that it would be a good idea to have a specific database for seagrasses. So now you know a little bit more. I'm sure that you understand better, which is our aim. But now I would like to introduce you these two words, the metadata and ontology. As you can imagine, if we want to collate information and data of seagrass traits from all around the world, we have to make sure that we do it in a consistent way. Because sometimes a researcher from Australia and a researcher from Portugal can name a variable, a trait, in a different way. Or we can observe or measure a variable in different ways. So we have to make sure that everything is standardized, so data is comparable and is organized in the database in a proper way. So the first concept in metadata. Metadata basically is the data about the data. When we think about data sets, we imagine an Excel file with columns and lines in which we have numbers, zeros and ones and factors in the cells. But that's not enough to understand the information that those data are giving. And that's why it's important to include the metadata. Metadata is the information about the aspect of the data. For example, when you have a data set, you want to know from where it comes from. And this is the investigation. Investigation can be defined as a research program that has specific aims. For example, a research project or a PhD thesis. And the investigation is formed by different studies normally. Within a PhD thesis, normally we have different studies, or even within a paper, okay? A paper itself can be a single study, or a paper can have different studies if we are comparing, for example, the effect of salinity on seagrass leaf length from different parts of the world, okay? And metadata also contains information about the person who is creating those data or who is in charge of the data storage. Normally is the API of the project or the corresponding author if we are talking about a paper, but it can be also a representative of the research group. Metadata should contain also information about the biological material that is where these data have been obtained. So the species, where it was sampled, when, and the development stage, for example, of the plant individual. And as well, it should contain also information about the environmental or the experimental conditions at which the traits or the data were collected. And of course, which are the observed variables. And normally with the variables, in this case the traits, we should include the information about the units that we use to measure, and the definition and the method that were used to measure them. In our SeagrassTrait database, we used this resource, the Mayaki, I think it's pronounced Miyake or Miyaki, and it stands for Minimum Information About Plant Phenotyping Experiment. It is a community-driven project to harmonize data from experiments to study the phenotype of plants, but it can be also used for information of data taken directly from the natural environment. So this is the one we have used to standardize the information of the information that should be contained in the metadata of the dataset to be submitted to the SeagrassTrait database. And well, as I said, it contains information, the elements that should be included regarding the investigation, the study, the biological material, and the variables. The second concept I would like to introduce is ontology. Ontology in computer sciences is a way of showing the properties of a subject area in an organized way. The concepts and the categories are defined, and they are also put in a tree, so we can see how they are related. Basically, an ontology is a way to organize the knowledge using a controlled vocabulary, and I will give some examples. For the SeagrassTrade database, we have used two ontologies that can be found in the ontology lookup service. The first one is the plant ontology. It's a structured vocabulary regarding the plant's anatomy, morphology, growth, development, and also the genomics. And the second ontology that we use is the plant trait ontology that is specialized in traits. So it was great to have this already because it simplifies a lot the work of defining the traits that we have included by now in the SeagrassTrade database. This is an example of a trait within this ontology, and it's carbon content. Carbon content is a common trait used in plant sciences. And in the ontology, you can find the definition is the amount of carbon present in the dry mass. It has also a unique identifier, which is very important to extract the database. And we can see also how this trait is within the general tree of the ontology. So in this case, carbon content is one element of the mineral and ion content trait, which is one of the biochemical trait of the big category plant trait. So now that I have defined all these concepts, I think that you understand better, which is our aim. I want to repeat it. So we want basically to put together the SeagrassTrade data from different countries and locations in the world, but using standards in metadata and ontology. So it is presented in a consistent way. This has just started, but once SeagrassTrade database is populated with a substantial amount of data, we would like to use it to apply the framework of trait-based ecology to advancing the knowledge of some aspects related to the seagrass ecology. For example, the ecosystem functions, the responses to climate change, also the restoration process, which is important nowadays because there is a lot of effort put in the restoration of seagrasses, and also to respond to evolutionary questions, because as I presented, seagrasses are very interesting from the evolutionary point of view. So thank you very much for your attention, and we would like to send our special thanks to Barbara Pintar, who is part of the communication office of CCMAR, because she created this lovely logo for us. Thank you all. And now I pass the word to my colleague Joo Machado, who is going to talk about the development of the database and the functioning of the structure. Thank you.
João?
Sim. Dá para ver?
Sim, tá ótimo.
Okay. So good afternoon. Thank you for your presence. So the aim of developing the website is to share the data sets of seagrasses, traits, and the associated metadata. We also intend to apply FAIR data principles. So FAIR stands for findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And since it's a website, it's an online database, so it's findable. Everyone can find the website. It's accessible because there are two components of the website. One that is restricted to registered users, but there is a component that everyone can access and download the data that is classified as public by those that upload the data. It's interoperable because we use standard formats, CSV, Excel, and text files. And it's reusable and persistent since we use PostgreSQL to store the data and to assure the persistence of the data. And also all the metadata associated with the investigation and the study. So as Carmen said, we use the MIAP standards. MIAP, as Carmen already explained, they provide a domain model that help for someone that intends to develop a database that is MIAP compliant. They have this this domain model that have 4 components that are essential, that are the ones highlighted in orange. Then the other components you might use or not, depending on the requirements of your databases. MIAP compliant data have also some advantage because there is already some tools that allow you to store and to validate the data. And there is also already some APIs already developed, such as Barapi, that that is served by MIAP compliant data. So in terms of the website, is written in Django. Django is a web framework that runs on top of Python. The database or the database management is provided by Postgres, and the website has been deployed using Dockers, specifically 3 Dockers, one containing the website, another one containing the database, and another one for the proxy server, which in this case is Nginx. So since it's in a Docker, assures some portability of the database and also provides some scalability of the database if it needs to grow to a VM that is bigger. So there are 3 different roles predicted for this website. Everyone that reached the website will be considered a guest user, is allowed to register on the website, is also allowed to search data and download data. If he registered and is approved by the administrators, he becomes an authorized user. That then after that he can log in on the application. He's also responsible to upload the data, and he takes and he's the one accountable for his own data. So he can delete and update his own data. He can edit his own edit the permissions on his own data, and he can also read what is the taxonomy list, the trait list that is provided on the website. A special type of authorized user are the administrators. They are the ones responsible for changing to do CRUD operations, which stands for create, read, update, and delete operations on the taxonomy list, also on the trait list, and is also the ones responsible to authorize someone because we don't intend to someone that cannot contribute to have a login because everyone that have a login should be a person that will upload data. So it's easier to control the quality of the data that is uploaded. So in terms of the database, this is just a smaller version of a simplified version of the schema. These are the tables that are related with the data. As we can see here, there are the table investigation that have a connection with a relation with the user, and also can contain multiple studies. The studies can be to the same person that have uploaded the investigation, or can be attributed to any other user. The study will have data that is the location and the CSV or the Excel that is imported will be uploaded to the table with the file study, just to have a backup of that information. But the main information will be stored on the data value. It will contain information about the taxonomy and also information about the study. If you go to the seagrass.wall.pt, you'll find the landing page. On the landing page is provided a map where you can zoom and see the locations where the studies are mapped. And if after the study being placed as public, will be available on the landing page and will be shown on the map. You can click on the place and see and download the data that is associated with the study on that location. You can also use the meta tags filters to search the specific investigation that you want or study and download the data associated with that investigation or study. So as I said, the managers are, the user managers are, or the administrators are the user managers. So they are the ones that allowed an account to use the dashboard of the website. They can list the users. They can also approve the users, or they can disable the users according to their preferences. So how can you contribute to the SeagrassTraitDB? First of all, you need to register. Then you can create, after your registration, you will receive an email just to confirm that the email is valid. Then the account will be approved. And then you can create a custom template. The template can be in CSV or in Excel. It can be the headers of the CSV or the Excel can be the full name or a slug. Slug was something that we needed to use for a specific type of import that I will talk later. And there are three fields that are always required. It's the species name, if it is a point or average, if it's natural or experimental data. The rest of any other, all the other fields, you can use or not the others, depending if you have data for that trait or not, for that field. So the user can check the data related with the traits, can see all the information that we have already uploaded to the SeagrassTraitDB. You can also search for the species. You can search for family, genus, depending on and see all the information that we have stored already about that species. You can also download the species list in CSV or Excel to keep for the future. So after you create the templates and see the definition of the traits and which the species that is already we have already uploaded to the website, it will create the investigation. You can have or not a publication that's already, depending if there is already a publication associated with that or not. This can be changed later on. And then you'll fill the form with all the metadata associated with the study. And then he uploads the file from the template that you have created previously. And after being filled, you can upload the data. So you can choose CSV or Excel, depending on the file type that you have. If you choose CSV, will be only available to upload using CSV import. If you use Pandas, you can use both CSV or Excel. Pandas is a library for Python that is very useful for reading, read files, CSV and Excel files. As I said before, for CSV import, we are only being able to upload if we use the slug, which is a special string that does not contain any spaces or any special character. So if you upload the file using CSV import, it should be CSV and should be SLAC. But you can choose the file separator depending on the system of the user. So after the data being uploaded and classified as public by the person that have uploaded the data, this data becomes available and searchable inside the dashboard. You can search by investigations or you can search by studies using the filters that we have already provided. Maybe in the future, we'll have a little bit more filters here. So if you choose a specific data set that you want to see, in this case, a study, you will be able to see the data that is already uploaded for that study. You can export the file from here. You can check the metadata that is associated with that study. And you can also show and hide any column that are present on the data set, depending on your preferences. Because since it's already 206 traits, it's very wide, the table. So for someone to see better the traits that you intend to see, he can select to hide all the other traits that he doesn't need it to see. If you choose to download the investigation or the study, it's created a zip file containing the file format that he wants. You can export as CSV or export as Excel. And along with that, for each study, it's placed a file containing the metadata related with that study or with that investigation. So if you choose to export or to download an investigation, will be created a file for each study with the data and a file for each study with the metadata associated with that study. And thank you for your attention.
Okay, Carmen, João, thank you very much. It was a very interesting presentation, also very cool. Now it's time for questions, and we have already someone which raises his hand, is Sabina. And meanwhile, the others, if you want, you can put your questions in the chat or you can do it by live. Sabina, please.
Sorry, it was admiration. It was clapping, not raising the hand.
Okay, that's also good. Okay, so who do you have a question? Okay, so I may start. So Carmen and João, if I understand, you don't have molecular data and you didn't talk about it. Do you have intention in the future to include molecular data in this database, or make no sense for what it is?
Sorry, can you repeat?
I'm asking if you intend to include molecular data such as transcriptomic analysis or anything like that, or you don't want it?
Well, I don't work with that kind of data, so
okay.
I'm not familiar with the traits that are used in this field. But I think that Luis Santos should be here, and I think that he mentioned that it would be nice to include all the
future
at lower levels of organization as well.
Okay, okay, nice.
But by now we are starting with the easy one, those that we are familiar to. And in fact, I think that we didn't mention, but we have already a list of 200 traits, if I'm not wrong, right, João? I think that the list, yes, 2,200.
206.
Yeah, 206.
So this is 200 different individuals or no?
200 different traits.
Okay.
Measurable traits, yes.
Okay, so it is already a lot.
Yeah.
I guess Matthew, have a question, please.
Yeah. Hi, Carmen and João. Yeah, I was thinking that it's a very cool database and it's very important because many people are working on Seagrass traits. So are you planning to advertise this database on the Seagrass community? How would you make it like used?
Yes, so, well, in fact, today is the first day we are communicating the creation of the database. It was intended to be like more of the CCMAR level. But I think, yes, we want to do some, we have already done some trials with the database, and there are a few things that I think that has to be refined. João can talk more, can say more about that. But I would say, yes, the idea is to launch this project to the Seagrass community very soon and to call for contribution.
Yeah, because for example, for our project at this point, I would use it because when we will collect data, I would suggest that basically everyone that is collecting functional traits in our project will use it, because then make more sense so all the data they get in the same database, and then they can be used in a fair way by everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the idea, because I'm aware that many people are working nowadays with this trait-based approach, and the idea is to compile the information and the data that we already have on Seagrass traits and make them available for the research community under the licenses and all these permissions that João has explained. So yes, the growth and the development of the Seagrass trait database will depend on the contribution from researchers. I mean, for sure, from my side, I'm going to put all the data that I have been collected since I did my PhD regarding Seagrass traits, and that will be available there. So we are working on also on putting our own data in the database. So it has just started.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Matthew.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, so if not, maybe I have a last one. In terms of data capacity of that database, is there any concern about that? Maybe in the future, if I mean, there are a limit of when I upload certain species there, how much size is that? Because I don't work with that kind of data, just with molecular data. I have idea of that, but my question is if is that a problem for the future, if many people upload data, or even if the data that we already have is a problem in terms of size?
We didn't experiment with big files, and that can be an issue that we haven't tested yet. Okay. So we don't know the limits of, for instance, the size of a CSV to start to be problematic, the download and the download and the upload.
Okay.
But one of the things, or one of the main reasons why we are doing it inside a Docker in a container, is that if for some reason the machine that is running the Docker starts to lack resources, we can quickly change to another machine to host the Docker. So it's easier to scale up.
Okay, I see. So
sure, some.
So, okay,
yeah,
we have a comment in the chat. Okay, 10 millions of entries. So well, it's not a problem for now, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Okay. Well, anyone have a last question in the chat or by live? Okay, I guess not. So if we don't have more questions or any comment, again, thank you very much, Carmen. Thank you very much, João. I will also take the chance to announce you the seminar of next week that will be with Hugo Pereira, the innovation manager in the Green Collab. Green Collab is a collaborative platform composed by CCMAR, LNEG in the Aveiro University, but also some 4 companies, which are Alga Microalgae, Necton, Alga Plus, and Sparus. And their main focus is algae production in biotechnology. Will be next Wednesday at the same hour in the same place. Thank you everyone for watching our CCMAR webinars. You can see it again in our YouTube channel. Will be uploaded later, but probably today. And thank you very much. Stay safe and have a nice week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.